25% of the NHL season has come and gone, causing some to 100% lose their mind. The only remedy? Wild trade suggestions. That's why we've got 7 of them. We'll also be discussing the Bruins' shocking start to the season, Kaprizov potentially becoming one of the NHL's top-paid players, and whether or not Ovi's quest to become the all-time leading goal scorer is now in doubt. But welcome to the BarDown Podcast, presented by Crown Royal.
Gimli's finest.
Yeah. Gimli's finest. So why did we choose to do this right now, trade proposals? We get it. No one makes any trades historically in the NHL until it's the actual trade deadline. But the whole point of this is just, let's start reworking some rosters here. If things aren't going that well, we might as well take a look at it, right? But also, more than anything, it's because I saw one of the wildest trade proposals I've ever seen in my life, and I think I already said it to you guys. Someone was just mad because the Bruins, as we've said, not started well. They wanted to trade David Pastrnak for Shane Wright and a first. Any of you guys biting on that?
Not a good return.
No.
Huge Shane Wright guy.
I like him, but not a good return.
I had to triple check. I was like, Shane Wright having this unreal year that I'm just it's flying under the radar, and hopefully gets back to doing. But he hadn't.
No,
you're not taking.
You're just not doing that.
All right,
That's bottom line.
Yeah, you guys are being more diplomatic about it than I. But so this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna run around and do 2 trade proposals each. We'll go one at a time here. I'm going to ask one of you other guys to operate as the other team in the trade. Is that fine with you guys?
Yeah. Like whether or not we would accept this deal?
Whether or not you would accept this deal.
Can we negotiate and be like, well, you have to throw this in?
Oh, come on. It's always about discussion.
All right. It's a good thing I got my GM hat on right now.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, wicked. Let's get right into it. You know what, Luca? You start us off.
All right, I'll go with my Winnipeg Jets one then.
I think we know who the GM's going to be in this one. Yeah.
I'm sending Brock Nelson to the Winnipeg Jets and to the Islanders because the money has to work. Alex Iafallo, Nikita Chibrikov, and a 2026 second-round pick.
Well, you're the GM here, Jesse. You have the hat.
You know what? It's fine. I actually thought about doing Brock Nelson to the Jets as well because, you're wondering, is Nemestikov really gonna the second line center that you want? And I actually made 2 proposals with the Jets, or 1 proposal with the Jets. I was gonna make a second with Nelson. I'm glad Luca did. It's enticing because I get it. The Jets are there. This is their year. A guy like Brock Nelson could really help them. My only thing is that I do think that they need to upgrade the second line. That second line just been humming. But at the same time, more importantly, I just don't know if the Jets are willing to give Chibrikov away like that. I think there's a lot of promise with him. Wait, so it was a second, Chibrikov, and Iafallo?
Yeah, because the money.
Yes.
Nelson's making $6 million, which that was the hardest part for me because the Bruins came up as a team that I could trade Nelson to maybe. The Oilers as well, maybe if you're looking for more secondary scoring, but he's making $6 million, so it's tough to find someone to send back that way. And
there can always be some
salary
salary
retention.
Yeah, for sure. There's always retention,
yeah.
But in this case, it's tough to do that. So I was just send him Iafallo.
So no deal or what?
Respectfully, I will say. I think I'll say no. Just
I can't wait till someone says
That's fair.
Disrespectfully.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, you got to offend someone.
Yeah.
That was so
Some of these
respectful.
will be offensive. It feels like
Community hero.
I just think Chibrikov is the Jets only. Well, they've got some good prospects, but he's at the top.
Yeah.
He's right there with Lambert, and I just feel as though, Nelson's been good, and Nemestikov's also been very good, and I don't know if they're gonna see. I don't know. I feel like they'd have to get more at center on the second line.
Okay, well then, Jesse, why don't we go with your first trade proposal? We so far have no deals on our deadline day.
This is a big trade, and it's assuming that a bunch of things will be happening. This is assuming the Calgary Flames are going to kind of fall out of the playoff race a little bit, which I think they will. Although I really respect what they're doing right now. I think that they're playing a lot above where they should be right now. I'm going to trade Rasmus Andersson to the Jets for Elias Salomonsson, Chaz Lucius, Yes, very cool name. And his brother's name is Cruz. And
Insane. Actually might be cooler.
Yeah, way cooler.
and a first round pick. And you know what? I tossed a second in as well. I'm going to say I'm going to change it to a third that becomes a second if the Jets reach the Stanley Cup.
Lou, I like the
Thanks.
conditionals. I feel like I kind of put that in one of mine too.
It's a big trade. Like Solomonson is like a good defenseman. He's doing really well with the Moose right now. And Lucius is like one of those guys that if he can find a way to stay healthy, he can be a productive player. Like he's very skilled. And you're giving away a first. And there's a condition on the second. I just think that the Jets defense, they've been very good defensively this year. And I know that DeMello and Morrissey are a very good tandem. But as Luca also saw last year, got absolutely exposed in the playoffs last year defensively. Like defense was supposed to be our strong suit. We got walked by Colorado. And who's to say that we might not play the Avalanche in the playoffs again? Rasmus Andersson is like a true top pairing guy, blocks a ton of shots, logs a ton of minutes in. I would rather stick a guy like DeMello on my third pairing. And even if you want to keep DeMello with Morrissey, just having Anderson in the mix in that top six, he's got a year and a half left on his deal at $4.5 million. It's a lot to give up for Jets fans, but this is what you got to do.
All right, so you're going to act as the Calgary Flames here, Thomas. And you know what? Rasmus Anderson, that's probably going to be like one of the deadline assets going. So you know what you have. Are you going to trade it away? You partner with it.
Right now, am I going to do it? I don't think so. Just because, like you said, they're off to a great start in the season, and maybe they're overachieving, but I'm going to ride this wave as long as I can. And you're getting some resurgence from some guys like Huberdeau, and, Nazem Kadri's a great player, and, like,
people getting pissed with him, by the way.
What you're doing right now is working.
Luca, you're going to have to stick up for him.
No.
For the Flames fans, by the way. Kadri, I mean.
I agree. I mean this trade more like in the future at the deadline, if the Flames are in a position where they're willing to trade.
The asset return.
I think in terms of asset return, it's pretty solid value. Like, you're getting that first, you're getting a chance. The condition for me, Jets to make the Stanley Cup final, I would just ask for a second straight up. But I mean, those things can.
How about conference final?
That's
pretty fair.
How about game 5 of the first round?
Well, I mean, I'm not guaranteeing anything here.
That's a wild condition. That would be a first.
I think that's that's the first.
Just win one playoff.
That's the first, like, you're getting clicked. Oh, you think you're funny?
I don't want Rasmus Anderson.
5 games?
Yeah, we're done.
5 games? We're done.
I'm taking my GM hat off, and we're done here.
Okay,
It actually has Kevin
I don't have to
Cheveldayoff's
trade
initials in
Rasmus Anderson to you. I can trade him to another team, preferably a non-rival, another Canadian team in the same conference. I'll trade him to the Florida Panthers.
I just
gladly.
think that even if Calgary's like
Now
a
he's getting spiteful.
I have the leverage here.
even if Calgary's a wildcard team, and I agree, it's like if you have a chance to make the playoffs, it's tough to justify making a trade. But Calgary is just in need of they got to hit the reset button.
So you know what
here
they
a little
are?
bit.
They're Philadelphia of last year. And in the end, did it work out for the Flyers? No. So there's
And the
definitely
Flyers
some.
took the Red Wings down with them.
Yeah, they really did.
They're like,
They really did.
Would it be a BarDown podcast without the Red Wings randomly catching a stray?
Catching a stray.
But we love you guys.
Love to see it.
But we love. No,
Yeah.
you love to see.
I
it.
love to see it.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, Thomas, why don't you give us a year first? Trade proposal.
Red Wings trading Dylan Larkin for.
Wait, who's
What?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's like, what the?
That was so casual too.
Yeah,
Yeah, Red Wings just trading their.
Like, that's
captain.
not on.
That
his
is not my
list.
trade.
Catching another stray.
What is
Yeah.
your
Okay.
trade?
Yeah, they wouldn't do that.
I want to talk about a team that has created the most buzz in the NHL this week, and that's the Boston Bruins. The fact that they've already fired a head coach who is not only a Jack Adams winner, but has had so much success in such a short period of time in Boston is crazy. And maybe there's something bigger going on that we don't know about from like a locker room standpoint. But if there's one thing that's clear in Boston is that there is a clear sense of urgency right now to capitalize on this window of Brad Marchand, of David Pastrnak, on the core that they've had for some time now. They want to make sure that this is not getting wasted, and they don't want to be fighting for a wild card spot. They want to be competing for a Stanley Cup.
Shane Wright in a first. Pass it. Get him
read
out.
my mind.
Yeah.
I would call the San Jose Sharks, and I would inquire about Mikael Granlund because he has had such a good season so far. He's 32 years old. He's a UFA at the end of the year. Boston has really struggled in the center department for a while now. I think that's the guy that you can acquire. You call San Jose, you offer them a first, you offer them a third, and you make this deal happen. From San Jose's perspective, you don't really need any roster players in return. Your window is years and years away. Take as many draft picks as you can. Build around Celebrini. Build around the young players that you have that are doing well. This is a no-brainer move, and I think that's going to be someone that is definitely going to come up a ton come the trade deadline.
Okay, Luca, you're going to operate as the Sharks GM here. Are you accepting this trade? The third is in 2026.
Yes.
By the way, yeah.
As the Sharks GM,
Because that's important.
if I'm getting Boston's first this year, like with them imploding right now, I think for sure I'm accepting it. But from Boston's perspective, like I wouldn't do this. Like if I'm the Bruins GM, Don Sweeney, I would not do this because
as the Sharks GM, you're like, don't do this.
yeah, like I'm imploring you because you are imploding right now, and that first round pick could be pretty valuable.
I think imploding is the wrong.
I think imploding's pretty
They're
correct.
8-9-1. Okay,
They're
we're
8,
20
9,
games
and
through
1,
the season,
but they're also scoring goals at such a horrible.
that's
clip
why you need
right
Mikael
now.
Granlund.
He's not a goal scorer.
Well, he's a point producer. He's got
But
20 points this year.
I will say though, like they brought in Elias Lindholm to fix this problem. So now you're just wasting even more assets on kind of like fringe guys that aren't going to be your long-term solution to this. I think that first round pick could be potentially more valuable with less of a rental player that you're throwing at a problem that you threw money at this offseason that clearly hasn't worked.
Jesse, you're
In
taking
the last two off seasons, I guess, with Zaka as well.
Jesse, you're
thing is-
taking the hat away there. Is that because whose side do you agree with here? Because I think we know where they both stand.
I see it from both sides. Like Boston doesn't really have a great prospect pool, and they need picks, and they are kind of imploding. Well, not I shouldn't say imploding, but like they're not where they were expected to be. But at the same time, I see the need for Boston to kind of like really capitalize on this last little window that they have to maybe be successful. And
For
like
sure.
it's been such a big drop off that like maybe a guy like Granlund could thread the needle. So like if Boston is willing to accept the fact that their future doesn't look bright, which it looks like it's already not, I see why they made the trade. But I also just I wonder what else. Like it seems like Boston needs help in a lot of different places.
Yeah,
right now.
I guess that's fair.
Like,
Defending,
Still might be
scoring, like all of it. And,
Goaltending's been horrible,
the
which is
goaltending,
crazy,
which
but
is wild. But that's what happens.
I think it's like a panic move like this early in the year to trade that first round pick.
Unless it's for Shane Wright. And
Well, maybe but
Pasternak.
let's talk let's say at the deadline, let's say the Bruins are still like kind of in the hunt, like in the wild card spot, and San Jose's obviously not doing well. How do you guys feel about that?
And I think Boston will definitely be in that neighborhood at that time. Like they're the Boston Bruins.
I don't know.
We're 20 games in, and I know Edmonton is like an extreme because of how bad they were last year, but like don't panic with a team that's proven us wrong so many times, and they have veteran players. And you guys talk about that first round pick 4 or 5 years from now when that guy's ready to play in the NHL. What's Brad Marchand going to be doing?
For
What's
sure.
David Pastrnak going to be doing?
I don't disagree with that. I think the difference between like the Bruins and Oilers though is like the Bruins have McDavid and Draisaitl, and that's why I wouldn't worry about them. Whereas like this is outside of Pasta, like who is really scaring you on that Bruins top six? Like Marchand is clearly taking a step back and like comes with age kind of thing, but he took a bit of a step back last year, still great in the playoffs. But like Lindholm has not been great. Zaka has not been great. Who else is playing in that top six? They have like Geeky and Beecher.
I don't think Beecher's playing that high up.
So-
That's why they need Mikael Granlund.
So Luca, do you think it's time for Boston to kind of like close this chapter and move on to the next
I don't think it's time to close the chapter. I just think putting all your eggs in this basket at this particular moment right now where like things are bad and they could get worse, like I just don't know what about them so far makes us think that they're going to get better and right this a little bit.
All right. Well,
Write this.
Yeah.
Shane Wright.
Shane Wright.
That's
Now
where
I know
I
who
have,
made this.
that's
Shane
where
Wright
I have
in a-
hesitation.
Shane Wright in a first round pick.
Shane
Hold
Wright in
on.
a first round pick. That's where I have hesitation.
I'm going to go through mine really quickly just because it's the Sabres. And as much as I'd like to concoct some kind of crazy scenario, I really don't know who's going to sign there. So, listen, we just need someone who can play in the top six, give us some minutes, give us some grit, though, you know, because like their biggest problem is they can't close out games and they don't start games well. So give us a guy who's just aggressive but can play in the top six and on that left side because I think it's a little lacking at the moment. Tyler Bertuzzi to the Sabres. Now, he's already been traded before in the past. He's an expiring contract. I really don't think it would take that much. It's probably a second or a third. So I'm just going to say third. See if they take it. Because what are the Blackhawks even doing? They're playing. I think he's on the fourth line right now already.
Jesus.
They don't even really seem to be using him that much, and nothing's really going well. Maybe they'd ask for more because people probably will inquire for him. So that's a side of it where it's probably going to change. But it's not crazy. But I don't know. Someone just to make that third line even if he doesn't play in the top six, because that was the top line the Sabres had going for a while, but then Zucker got pushed up to the top line because he was doing so well. I think that would solidify it, and he would fit in pretty well with what they don't have. Anyone, would you like to be the Blackhawks GM here?
Well, I think that's a pretty solid move from both sides. I was at the Blackhawks game last Saturday in Vancouver, and it was a pretty dark watch.
Yeah.
The team is just like...
Taylor Hall scratched. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's...
They need so much help.
They need a lot of
They're
help.
really far away.
That third round pick much as help.
But from the Sabres' perspective, is Bertuzzi worth the money? Isn't he getting paid like $5 million?
But
a year?
we're pretty well under the cap and have pretty decent space. But you're right, because I'm sure wherever he goes to, you'd think he's like, well, maybe it might just be a rental. But it's like, yes, I might sound weird to say, like, the Sabres need a rental of all teams. Like, what are they even doing? But I would say yes, just because you need to make the playoffs at least once. And if a rental to you is just get past that line so that the next year your team's actually competitive, I think rentals would be worthy, especially if it's only like a second or a third round pick, personally.
It's pretty interesting, too. I was just thinking, like, we saw Hronek. Remember when Hronek remember that trade between them and the Red Wings where it was like ahead of the deadline? It was like the Vancouver clearly wasn't going to make the playoffs. And then the next year, Hronek was obviously great.
Huge.
And you kind of wonder, like, even if the Sabres don't make the playoffs this year, like, is that kind of a trade that would help them in the future? Or I kind of like that trade. It's kind of cool to see teams that, like, weren't necessarily for sure going to make the playoffs still make a trade and then see that player be, like, really useful on the team the next year. I don't know. That was cool.
No one's out on it?
I don't
Okay.
object to it.
All right. All right. Well, if you don't object, you're up next.
Wow. Okay. My second trade is, I don't know who's Pittsburgh in this scenario, but I'm LA.
Who wants to be Pittsburgh?
I would never want to
I'll
be
be
Pittsburgh.
You're
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh?
Because the media in Pittsburgh loves me so much.
I think they might actually love you for accepting this trade, maybe. But
As long as it doesn't involve Crosby.
it doesn't involve Crosby. It doesn't involve Letang. Doesn't involve Malkin. It involves Marcus Pettersson, and he's had a great year playing with Erik Karlsson. I think he's worked his way into maybe playing on the Swedish national team. Stay-at-home defenseman, left shot, big body, like doesn't really hit, but like he's got a lot of reach. He's really big. I sending him to LA because I think the Kings, they have a really good defensive core. Brant Clark's been really good for them, like good young players mixed with like some good veterans. But I think that Pettersson can provide some stability for their offensive defensemen. He has a history of playing with Karlsson and like putting up really good results with a guy that's really offensively focused. So when Drew Doughty does come back, maybe that's your second pair, or you have some freedom to move him around, put him on the PK a little bit, put him with a guy like Brant Clark if you want to use him in those scenarios. So what they're giving up to get Marcus Pettersson, who is a UFA at the end of the season, is Alex Turcotte, Arthur Kaliev, and a 2026 second.
Well,
Kaliev is
Pittsburgh,
hurt right now, out 6 to 8 weeks. He's been very underwhelming in his career. We've all expected more out of Alex Turcotte, who former first-round pick. He's played with the NHL team this year, like hasn't been sent down yet. 5 points in 14 games. I feel like he had a really good AHL season last year, though, and maybe we're starting to see that fully develop. But from the Penguin side of things, like take swings on young forwards that can help lead you into the future, because right now you're outside of Rucker McGroarty, you don't really have that.
Jesse's doing a lot of nodding here. It seems like he might be in agreement.
Well, if I'm the Kings, I'm taking that in a heartbeat.
But you're the Pens right now.
No. Am I the Kings or the Pens?
No, you're the Pens.
You're the Pens.
I'm the Pens.
Is that enough of a return for Pettersson?
I don't
Those are
think
some
I
big
don't think
names.
I don't
I
think
know
it
it's
is.
like they haven't panned out, but like Arthur Kaliev and Alex Turcotte are like...
I totally understand like taking swings on younger players. I just think that like Pettersson is like I think you can get at least a first for him, and and maybe something else. And I just think that like Turcotte's at a point where he's like what 22, 23. He hasn't done anything. Like not a guy I would want to take a gamble on personally. If you're giving up a guy like Pettersson who's been so solid, and Kaliev's like good. I don't think he's like great. I don't think he's really like threading the needle. And the second is like good. I just think that like if you could potentially get a first and another pick, and then use those as assets to maybe move up in the draft, move down in the draft, whatever, however you want to do it. Like, I feel like Pittsburgh can accumulate more assets or stronger assets for a guy like Pettersson.
So when I sent it to Z initially, I was like, this one, but if that gets rejected, like Turcotte and a first, is that enough? Minus Kaliev, but you get that first round pick. I think it's more intriguing for sure. I was also toying with maybe Akil Thomas, but again, I don't know if it threads the needle too much.
I think a first in Turcotte is like, now you're speaking a little more my language.
All right.
This guy's speaking Pittsburgh.
If I'm Pittsburgh though, I think like what I would want is like simply picks. And Pittsburgh is like
Pittsburgh.
Total respect to the Penguins. Like, again, amazing organization. I won't get too carried away here.
This guy's pumping his own tires. You are this organization.
No. They're awesome. Was just in Pittsburgh. They were like such a class organization. They've had so much success, but that's the whole thing. Like they've had so much success, and now like they are clearly in this very awkward phase where it's like, they probably should be getting picks for a guy like Pettersson, but like they also have these like insane old players and tough contracts, and it's like what are they? Are they like trying to rebuild? Are they trying to win? It's just, I don't know. Dubas has his work cut out for him. That team's just a bit of a mess roster wise.
It's like a massive hole, and they just Michael Bunting just fixes everything. It's like the Flex Seal commercial. Michael Bunting
slapping it.
Slap it on.
I don't like him wearing. Is he wearing
Carter
8?
Kell.
He wears 8 for them, right?
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Weird number.
It's a weird number for him. I don't know. Anyways, Jesse. Yes. Your next trade.
Did he wear 50? Did he wear 50 in Toronto?
Yeah. 50. He did. Was it 58 or 59?
I think 15.
No, yeah. Bertuzzi was 59.
Yeah, Bertuzzi was 59.
Yeah. That's my player.
Yeah, sorry.
We agree.
Sorry.
Get your hands off of him.
We did agree. 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Maybe a second. Condition on 1st round pick.
Speaking of conditions.
Sabres make it to game 3.
Speaking of conditions.
Sabres make it to game 82.
The best condition ever?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Sabres make it through the season.
Speaking of conditions, I'm going to go back to Brock Nelson, actually, because I think that Brock Nelson is someone that just needs to be traded by the Islanders. Talk about another team that's in like this weird phase. The Islanders are a team that like needs to stock their cupboards with more prospects, and just as importantly, they have a ton of money that they're going to have to dish out in the summer. They're going to have to pay Dobson, right? Yep. They're going to have to pay, I think, Romanov as well if they want to re-sign him, and they have no cash. And I think that they're not going to be able to afford him. And if I'm looking at teams that could really use a guy like Brock Nelson, I'm sending him home. I'm pretty sure he's from Minnesota. And I just think that he would be a really good fit with the Minnesota Wild. I know he's a center. You could also stick him on the wing. They have guys like Marco Rossi and Eriksson Ek at center, who's such a good two-way center. But I think if you want to really add some offense, whether it's just to the top 6, you could even have him as your third-line center to add some depth scoring. I feel like Nelson would be perfect for that team. They could use some more depth scoring. Like Kaprizov is doing so much of the heavy lifting for them. I think like before last night, or like he had like 31 points in 20 games, and he might win MVP. But yeah, I just think Nelson's a guy you could stick on your power play too. He gives you depth. I think giving up a first and a conditional third is fair. And the reason why I like it for Minnesota is they're right in the thick of things right now. And I know that you could look at a team like Calgary and say like, oh yeah, they might drop off, but this team is really dialed at the moment, and they've got a guy who's playing at an MVP level right now. Put some more talent around him. This team has not won a playoff series, I'm pretty sure, since 2015.
Wow, that's pretty wild. I didn't even realize that.
It's pretty wild.
I actually didn't even mean that. I can't take credit. In fact, it's embarrassing that I didn't notice it. But hopefully you do a better job at being the Wild GM here.
If I'm the Wild GM, I would love Brock Nelson on my team.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're not the Wild GM. The Islanders.
Conditional third that turns
Guys,
into a
guys.
second if they make the conference
Get
final.
him in there.
the
Hey,
first-
Luca, what do you think?
First and a conditional third.
Wait, cover up the beard for me for a second.
there.
Go like this. Yeah, no, that's a bit better.
There
You're
we
like
go.
that Swedish striker on Sporting. What's his celebration like this?
York, yeah.
Yeah.
The Bane mask?
A first and a third.
Conditional.
What's the condition?
No, you make it to the conference final, it turns into a second.
For Brock Nelson.
Brock Nelson
I
grow
think I
facial
would
hair?
ask for a little
'Cause
bit,
that's important in this.
a little bit more, just because of what. I mean, at the deadline, the price of some of these players is just
It's gonna
insane.
skyrocket. I
it
feel like
is
the price
insane.
for him would go
Yeah,
real
it
high.
It is
Really?
insane, but like he hasn't
First
been.
round pick for him. Like he's 34. He's hasn't been lighting up
Is
the
he
world.
34?
Yeah, he's like.
He also hasn't been.
I think so.
He hasn't been.
Double check me.
I thought he was. I thought
Yeah,
he
he's
was like
not lighting up
32.
the world.
He hasn't
Like,
been amazing.
no,
he has
for sure.
7 goals this year, and I just feel like
7 goals this year. That's like 30 goal pace.
yeah, but he's got like 10. He's got like 10 points in 18 games.
Well, he's always been more of a goal scorer than a point creator, but like.
What if you just turn the third into a second? Just no conditions. Man, I just think
Gotta
that
make
like
it together.
I think I would do that. I think arguable value.
Sure.
From
like,
Minnes- from
so
Minnesota-
minuscule is not really.
Also,
a
from
deal.
Minnesota's perspective, given their weird cap circumstances over the past couple years, they have really had to focus on like building through the draft. They've stocked their cupboards. Like Minnesota has a great prospect pool right now, and I just think that like give the fans and you have all these guys coming through the system. Give the fans some excitement now with this team. You also have a guy like Zuccarello who's injured right now. And who knows him? He's old. He's still great, but you never know with injuries and stuff. He would just be such a good piece that, like, in case anything happens, you plug him into your top 6. You don't have to give up any prospects for him. I think he would love the idea of going home. Minnesota's right in it right now. I just think it makes a lot of sense.
It's been a while since they've kind of gone out and bought at the deadline and made like an aggressive move like that. So from the Wild perspective, like with how hot this start has been, I love this move for them.
All right, Thomas, you're up with the last trade, and I believe it's Gyökeres. Is that his name? I'm probably getting it wrong. Hopefully he joins this team, but we'll see.
We don't have to do this.
No, yeah, unless it's an island.
You need your GM cap.
You
That's how it
need
works.
to wear it.
Or else you can't trade.
All
The
right.
phone literally won't work.
It won't
if you're
pick
not
up.
wearing the hat. Yeah, no facial hair.
Disconnected until the hat's on your head.
What is this facial hair thing?
Lou
It's 'cause Lou
Lamoriello.
Oh, damn it.
You don't remember when we were...
That's such a miss.
Yeah,
What a miss.
Yeah, that was a miss.
All right.
you bet.
Let's talk about. You mentioned the
Did
Minnesota
Shane
Wild.
Wright in a first round pick grow facial hair? Sorry,
I
sorry,
think he
sorry,
could.
Sorry.
I think Brock Nelson would look good with a beard.
Yeah.
I've never seen him with one, though, because he's always been on island.
We'll see it.
All right. My final trade. You mentioned the Minnesota Wild. I'm going to go to a team in the East that has kind of been the Minnesota Wild of the East in terms of a team off to a great start, and that's the Washington Capitals. I know Ovi just went down with an injury, and that sucks to see. But you're kind of in a spot now where maybe you didn't expect to be, maybe you did. They made some good offseason moves, but you got to go all in on this core. And this isn't necessarily an all-in trade, but I feel like it's a low-risk move that can really benefit them. We mentioned Taylor Hall. I think you mentioned him earlier. Healthy scratch in Chicago. I watched his interview talking about Luke Richardson, and they seem to be sort of on the same page, but he also was very blindsided by being a healthy scratch. He said it was very unexpected. He didn't feel like he was really even close to that territory. He's got 6 points so far this season. He's been very underwhelming in Chicago, and it's been a couple years since he really had a lot of really bounce to his game, I think. I mean, this is a guy that won the Hart Trophy in New Jersey. This is a guy who scored 80
Fraudulent
points.
Hart.
It's not a fraudulent Hart.
Wow. Sabres legend.
He had
McKinnon
like
should've
40
won it.
more points than the next guy on
No, he
his
didn't.
team.
Oh, on his team. Sorry.
On his team.
Yeah.
He was very valuable. He scored 80 points in Edmonton. Like, this is a very, very good hockey player, and he's only 32 years old. He's a UFA at the end of the season. And if I'm Washington, I think you can get him from pretty cheap. I would just go out and do it. Ovi is off to this great start, yes. Is he going to continue this pace? Probably not, since he's just scoring at like a 60-goal pace right now. He's still going to have a great season, and they have other players like Dylan Strome who are really stepping up, but give yourself just a little bit more of scoring to help continue to build on what's been a very great start.
What's cheap? Yeah.
The return that I had was a third-round pick,
It was a second and a conditional third.
2025 second, and a 2026 conditional third.
I think I can get a first from Taylor Hall.
Really? With 6 points?
I was gonna say second.
I know.
Third
I know.
healthy
I know. He
scratch?
had
Yeah.
6 points. Guys, some of the guys that go for first at the
So
deadline.
we're talking deadline?
Brock Nelson.
No, honestly, but that's what I mean.
Paul Gostad has gone for first round picks multiple times.
Right, just think of the just think of your desperation on trade deadline day when you look at some of those names. You start looking at them a little different. You're like, I don't know, man.
And
I
especially
have to get
a
the
guy
best
like
out of that guy.
especially a guy like Hall with the pedigree.
Yeah.
That I bet a bunch of teams are looking at him like, if we could just get him out of Chicago.
I'm
That place
with
is a
Luca.
hellhole right now
think
for
Luca needs this now.
forwards. That place is a hellhole right now for forwards. Nothing's going right there. All he needs is a change of scenery. He's
Tyler
going
just left for
to be a
Buffalo.
heart winner once again when he comes to Washington.
It's been
If
4
I-
years since he scored even 60.
If I was,
I know.
if the Jets acquired Taylor Hall for a first round pick, I'd be
I'd be
rattled.
irate. You'd be
well, you
irate.
did to Foley and Monahan last year. Like, do you
The
think?
Foley's like still.
No, I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you,
Monahan's still.
you
goal
view
scorer.
those players in a higher regard than you view Taylor Hall right now.
Of course, I
Yeah.
think Taylor Hall is over the hump. Like
No, I don't think. I think that's
Maybe-
the stretch.
I don't think he's over
He's
the
only
hump.
32. He's been around for a long time. He's only 32.
In fairness, I need to do some research on Taylor Hall.
Okay.
I do.
Call us
As-
back after that.
From
then.
from
But,
the Chicago
yeah.
perspective, I think Taylor Hall, I'd want either 2 seconds or like a second and a prospect or a first.
Let me see this guy.
I don't think like a second and a
First
third
is a
gonna-
little rich for my blood.
That's fair.
Is it rich? Absolutely. Could they get it? Maybe. All it takes
No,
is
they
someone
could.
being desperate.
Like, the deadline
All it takes is
is-
someone
I
being
mean,
desperate.
Washington's first this year could basically be a second anyway.
Washington has a lot of picks too. I mean, the Orlov trade,
Yeah.
I was looking through all their picks just to make sure that this could actually happen. They do have a lot of draft picks.
He's been struggling for sure.
I mean, he did have 16 goals a couple years ago. He's got that playoff pedigree. He was actually good in the playoffs for the Bruins a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I will say, by the way, relative expected goals percentage when they're on and off the ice, highest on the team. Tyler Bertuzzi, welcome to the Sabres. Anyways.
There it is.
All right.
I think you could convince me for a second and a third, and I think like Chicago fans might be okay with that, but I feel like if you're Chicago, that's your best asset.
Shane
that you
Wright
could
and
probably
Providence.
trade.
I would do like for me it'd be like most a second.
I think it'll happen
Like, just a
later
second.
on in the year if it does
Yeah.
happen, and hopefully by that point
It
they're
should
not
happen.
healthy
Should
scratching
happen.
him still, which will really tank his value.
I mean, part of the is he a UFA at the end of the year? Part of the problem also is his salary.
Is he making
Well, you can
$4
retain.
million?
That's what I mean.
Chicago
if
is
their
more than
salary-
happy to shell out some.
If their salary retention though, that drives the price of the pick higher.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you thought these trades were insane and you could come up with far better ones than us, that is exactly where you come in. Yes, if you're in the comments right now watching this video, type them in because next week we're going to read 5 of them. Yep, 5 of your trade proposals. So put them down in the comments and we will discuss. It's
a good idea.
We're all into discussion. Also, if you like the video right now, of course, go ahead and like the video. If you want to see the podcast kind of just be a weekly thing, I know we've been kind of rotating. Let us know that too. I don't know. I guess we're just saying. Like, do you guys want to see us every 2 weeks, every week? Let us know. But with that, we move on to Don't Think, Just Tweet. So there's a lot in the news that we got to get to. And one of these things we already kind of sort of discussed. And I'm going to start with Jesse for this one.
Wow.
The Bruins choosing to relieve Jim Montgomery of his duties after having a .715 points percentage in his tenure is...
Desperate. For sure, it's desperate. I mean, the record speaks for itself, and like that's why I feel the more like this team is clearly trying to squeeze out the last. They know that their time. Oh, sorry.
I needed
Like
a visor
rocket,
for that
a
one.
rocket just flew out.
It was a rocket. Thankfully, it didn't hit me. It was just
The Bruins definitely see their window closing, and they're trying to squeeze the last little bit of water out of the towel. That makes sense.
the water's actually in the
I thought you were going to go for like.
Blur that out.
Oh, I didn't even mean that.
All right, moving on. Luca. Yeah. Okay.
Whoops.
When/if Kaprizov signs his new deal with the Wild, what will his AAV be?
Ooh.
There's a lot of discussion around this.
Yeah. A lot of discussion around this.
Not what you think it should be. What
will it
What do you really think it will? Because I mean, just dictate the terms. Because he wants some money and he deserves to get paid.
Remind me what Matthews is getting again right now. 13.5. I think he'll get 13.2.
He disagrees over here.
No, I don't disagree. I was talking about it with in a group chat with some school friends last night.
That's exactly what Matthews has, by the way.
Yeah.
13.2? Yeah, then is he a higher paid player than Matthews? I mean, with the cap going up and things like that, like Minnesota definitely should keep him.
Guy.
Like, if you let that guy walk out of the door, you're dumb. So, yeah, 13.2, 13.25, whatever. Pay him all the money.
Jesse, sorry I cut you off. What were you saying with your friends?
I think he's going to make
14
million.
I'd do it.
Wow.
And I think that if he doesn't do it, you know who I think will? The Chicago Blackhawks. There were rumors.
This is the least surprising suggestion. That is
No.
that is the number one destination you give for just about everyone.
Wait, William Nylander?
No.
Signing with the Blackhawks?
Mitch Marner to the Blackhawks. In fairness,
Tyler Bertuzzi out of the Blackhawks.
In fairness, there was actually a report earlier this year saying that Kaprizov had interest in signing with Chicago.
Yes.
That different than the other
guess
times.
where it started and where it stemmed from. No, I did.
Yeah.
it was from this guy. Okay, fair enough. He deserves to get paid, and you're right. If the Wild let him walk, that'd be ridiculous, and they won't. 14 totally could happen. You never know.
Tri-saddle?
Yeah. What else we got? Luca. Okay, so I'm just kidding. You're up next. Thomas, Matvei Michkov having more points than Connor Bedard this season means precisely
Nothing.
Okay.
Connor Bedard, I know he's riding a tough goal streak goal slump right now. He is a very, very talented player, and I know we've talked a lot about Chicago today. This team just does not have a lot of, last night he made a great no-look pass to Jason Dickinson, who buried it on the power play, and I think Jason Dickinson's a very solid pro, and he's had a good career in the NHL. I'm sure he's a great guy. He's valuable on a lot of teams. That is not who
knew
Connor
an
Bedard
insult was coming.
He's not power play one material.
Yes. Michkov, I know not like he's playing with the best players in the world either. They're both very good young players. They're exciting. And I think they're both going to have very good careers. I think the goals will start to come for Bedard eventually. And I think he's playing, he could be playing a little bit better, but he's just doing absolutely fine right now in Chicago.
Also, they're tied on points. They did have.
He got 2 assists last night.
Yeah. Chicago's so bad.
Well, they're going to be better next year with Kaprizov.
You're smart not to take the bait.
And Nylander and Marner.
Yes.
And
Matthews, guys.
It's going to be a good
What
team.
about Matthews?
Yeah. It does mean
The Chicago Maple Leafs.
You know what? We'll end this with. I guess we'll just go around the horn. Luca, because anyone can chime in afterwards.
All right.
With Ovechkin being announced as week to week with a lower leg injury, how confident are you now that he will break the all-time goal record? Has it changed at all in your mind?
This season?
At all?
Oh, at all, it doesn't. This season, it does. Because, I mean, you were alluding to it before, like a 60-goal pace right now, playing some of the best hockey that he's played over the last 2 years. Like, remember how many goals did he have last year?
At this point,
it was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like,
But
he
had 9 goals in December.
No, but then the second half of the season,
he was great. For sure. But
Yeah.
to start, carry that from last season into this season, you're in the rocket race all of a sudden. To miss any time right now at his age, I'm not saying he's not going to come back and not be good anymore. It just, missing any time is going to take away from his ability to, I think, break the record this season. But overall, no, from what you've seen from him this season, it's just he's going to get there. It's just a matter of when, and if he's surprised, it's up to him. If he doesn't want to play next year, which I imagine he's going to want to play and get this record, then it's just a matter of time at this point.
You could be at the game where he's 17 goals away.
Man, I legitimately could have been at the game in Winnipeg, March 25th.
Can I just deliver this prompt, because we're going to put this question to the people here, because there was one point where Jesse got very excited where it wasn't even about being there on the day that he broke it. He was like, can you imagine if I could say, just in the future, I was at the game where Ovi was just 12 goals away from the record. It was and we were like, if someone told you that story, you'd be like, that's really not that cool.
That's just another game.
That's
unless he scores 12 in that game.
Yeah, yeah.
It stemmed from me saying, imagine if I was at the game, and then I think Z was just like, yeah, but he's probably still going to be 12 goals away, and I was like, well, yeah, that's still pretty cool.
You wouldn't tell that story.
It's the regular game.
You know what, though? I'm just saying, if he stayed healthy, March 25th in Winnipeg totally was doable.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? I'm being optimistic. I still think he will do it this year.
I think he does.
It really depends when he
he's
comes
so
back.
Yeah, I was
determined.
gonna say, like,
Exactly.
How many weeks are you a little worried about if like it being too close?
What's the
not
most
enough
he's ever
games?
missed in a row? Is it 6 games?
He's missed 35 games in his career.
That's crazy.
But what's the most in a row? I think it was like 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
Like if he misses,
wild.
3 weeks, let's say, does
if
he break the
misses
record this
3,
year?
it'll be close. If he misses only 2, he gets it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's just, but the problem is that, like, sometimes, like, the way goal scoring works in the NHL, it's like
Sure.
you can be
Hot
so
and cold.
hot,
Yeah.
and then you come back from injury, and it's like,
The worst time to be hurt.
the worst time. He was on such a mission, but I still think that he will come back on a mission, get it done in Winnipeg, March 25th. Mark it on your calendars. Get your popcorn ready, Jets fans.
Ovi, Shane Wright in the first. Is that all right? So our final thing for today is our newest segment here with Crown Royal. It's That Deserves a Crown. Now, we've been doing our goal of the week, so we're just going to rename that because you know what? We got to crown these goals. We already have a champion crowned. I believe we still have kept it as Sidney Crosby's goal. It went from Leo Carlsson's goal. I'll just assume you remember the Crosby goal because
Yeah.
what was
It was the same as Leo Carlsson's.
Yeah, it was actually just worse.
So this was the Crosby goal. It was against the Anaheim Ducks. It was on a bit of a giveaway. Oh, there we go.
Gautier thinks it's minor Adam.
Just stops, and because it was also on Dostal, which top goal in the league right now. So frozen by Sid the Kid. That's our current top guy.
Dostal's been insane.
He still has the top numbers.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well,
He's gonna win. I mean, Hellebuck.
I was gonna say you're not gonna back your
but
guy.
But Dostal is like, he will be nominated.
Now who is he going up against?
Zach McEwen?
No, it's Dylan Strome.
I love Dylan Strome. He's so good.
Do you love him enough to crown him? Now, a little bit of a sneaky play. He's going to go behind the net, recognizes he got the bank shot. Just banks it right off
It's kind of cool.
Connor Ingram.
It's a high IQ
It's a
play.
nice move.
Woo!
That was just a really smart play.
crafty. It's crafty. It's a nice goal. But
It is crafty.
is it worthy of being crowned?
I think
What do you guys think?
it deserves a crown. I don't know if it deserves the crown as the best goal of the season. It's clever. I think it's a nice move.
Okay, it's okay.
I don't
We
know
can
if I'm
keep
going to
what
say
we
it's
have.
number one.
We can keep what we have. That's also an option.
Does it have to be the NHL? Because I think Luca.
Oh, yeah, no, it's the NHL.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Scored a gross goal.
Yes, that was pretty
that was
insane.
nasty.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a really. It may not have been like the sexiest goal. That was a pretty high IQ play.
It was.
It was, but I just think there's like
I think Zach McEwen's 92-mile-per-hour shot from the line of the screen goal. He's actually played the year.
Evan Bouchard's last night.
Okay.
He
So,
dangled,
all right.
Yeah.
dangled someone on Ottawa, walked in,
I think it was Shabbat too.
and then put it just top shelf. It was a gross goal.
That might
Okay.
be goal of the year.
I didn't.
far.
I might have missed that because it happened
Yeah.
last night, and I might have.
Good
I
catch,
did.
Luca, because this was a.
Okay, here it is. Another one against the center. Zach McEwen not involved.
Oh, a defenseman doing that.
I think that's, to me that's number one.
That's number one. That's goal of the year.
Crosby's.
Yeah.
We still
deserves
get
a crown.
Zach McEwen.
I mean, Zach is like 1A and Bouchard
Yeah, I
know.
1B, but
Damn.
There's no way that Bouchard is shooting the puck like that.
Okay,
from the
so-
blue line.
Are we? This is a little bit more
just doesn't have that
disorganized.
He does it.
It's a little more disorganized than I would like. This is my fault because this is very worthy. I like the Strome play, but as we've all said, it was more clever than anything. This is nasty. Are we crowning it?
Oh,
that deserves a crown.
oh,
That right there, that deserves a crown.
that deserves a couple crowns. Holy smokes!
And that brings an end to this week's podcast. Thank you for joining us. Always fun to be here. Next week, Jesse's going to be out of town, so we're going to have a little mystery person coming in here.
Oh,
Who knows? Hasn't been lined up, so don't get that excited. It literally might just be whoever.
it might just be us three.
It might
instead.
just be the three of us. No, I'll try to get someone else. But yeah, but Jesse will. He'll be back then the following week.
Fun content to come.
Yeah, you're going to what is it? The
CHL prospects game, and they're doing it differently this year. It's not just the top prospects against each other. They're playing against the U.S. National Development Team program. So it's going to be, it's going to be heated. And some of these players might be playing against each other. I got to stop that.
Take
hand.
these are the hand talking. The
They might be
hand
playing-
talking.
They might be
is
playing
the-
against each other in the World Juniors.
You know what? Speaking of
Put
hands,
your hands behind your back.
if you got a hand, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well now that we're done here, because BarDown, of course, we have that new YouTube channel. We're about 2.5 months in right now, so you might not even have noticed it, but yeah, you're watching on the BarDown YouTube channel. We would love it if you give it a little subscribe. Of course, if you're liking the video, a like helps us as well. Helps us just make these, so it's, we do appreciate it that you do that, and we appreciate you tuning in, and we appreciate Jesse never talking with his hands again.